All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a pretty radical idea, one that pushes back against a core belief you find in all sorts of spiritual and self-help circles. This idea that to grow, you constantly have to accumulate and save your energy. I mean, you've probably heard this a million times, right? It's that common wisdom that says real progress means you have to hoard your energy, both physical and emotional, treating it like this precious resource that you can't ever let run low. But what if that's just wrong, completely backwards? What if trying so hard to save all this energy is the very thing holding you back? That's the provocative question we're really digging into today. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to dive into the energy paradox and unpack why having more can actually mean having less. Then, and this is super interesting, we'll see how that exact same logic applies to something else we're all pressured to chase, the so-called myth of early maturity. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's really get into the weeds here. The source material asks this really fundamental question. When we're all talking about saving and accumulating energy, what's the point? What are we actually trying to build it up for? And to even start answering that, we have to be super clear on our terms. What do we even mean by energy? Well, our source splits it into two different buckets. In one corner, you've got material energy. We're talking money, possessions, even physical strength. And in the other corner, you have spiritual energy, the intangible stuff, like joy, harmony, love. And this distinction, it's absolutely crucial. Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. The source makes a bold claim. Focusing all your efforts on piling up that first kind of energy, the material kind, might actually be the biggest roadblock to your own growth. And this is the paradox at the heart of it all. This idea that having more can actually block your path. It sounds crazy, right? Well, the source gives us a few really powerful analogies to help us wrap our heads around this. Okay, first up, think about this. It's something we've all heard about, right? People often find this incredible clarity right when they're at their weakest physically. It's almost as if a lack of physical energy cracks open a door to a deeper kind of spiritual insight. And, this connects to that age-old metaphor, the one about the camel and the eye of a needle. The more material stuff you're trying to carry with you, the harder it is to squeeze through that narrow spiritual gate. Those attachments literally weigh you down. Or how about this one? You give a dog a mountain of bones, what happens? Does it become a dragon? No, it just becomes a really, really comfortable dog. And the source argues that the exact same thing happens to us. If we get too comfortable, too materially satisfied, we might just lose that fire that pushes us to become something more. Okay, so if piling up all this material energy is a trap, then what are we supposed to do? This is where we pivot to a totally different kind of power. So look at this. The path forward becomes pretty clear, right? The goal isn't to be empty. It's not about becoming weak. It's about shifting what you're trying to collect. Instead of casing money and stuff, you start accumulating harmony, joy, and real connection. And get this. This idea even applies to our most basic physical urges. The source argues that trying to suppress them doesn't actually make you more spiritual. Nope. It usually just makes you irritable and distracted. It turns out that healthy, balanced expression is what actually leads to a more peaceful and focused mind. All right, let's take this whole principle, this idea that forcing things is a trap, and see how it plays out in another part of our lives where we feel a ton of pressure, this constant push for maturity. I mean, how many times have we heard this? Grow up, act your age. But our source here says, hang on a second, that's like picking a piece of fruit way before it's ripe. Yeah, it might look like a plum on the outside, but you take a bite and it's just sour and hard on the inside. And the source just nails it with this quote. It's saying every single part of life has its own vibe, its own purpose. Rushing through being a kid so you can be a serious adult, that's like a tree trying to grow apples in the middle of winter. It just violates the laws of nature. And if you're still not convinced, the source says, hey, just look outside. Nature gives us the perfect playbook for this. It offers the best masterclass in just being authentic. I mean, it's kind of funny to even think about, right? Of course not. That peach tree knows exactly what it's doing. It doesn't need a life coach or a lecture on how to be more mature. It just needs a little water and sunshine, and it'll fulfill its own incredible nature all on its own. And it's such a simple, but man, what a powerful analogy. A hen that tries to crow isn't more advanced, it's just off. It's not being true to its nature. And the Source says true maturity is the exact same thing. It's not about becoming something you're not. It's about becoming perfectly, 100% you.
Okay, and this all leads us to the big idea, the one that ties everything we've talked about together, the true North Star of this whole journey.
The ultimate goal, the thing we're really striving for, is summed up in this one beautiful phrase, Huazaisingjong. And it simply means to live completely in one's own nature. It's not about achieving some new, higher state. It's about fully, unapologetically becoming who you already are, whether you're 5 years old or 95.
So if you remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. True progress isn't about clamping down on yourself or faking it till you make it. It's about living authentically. It's about having the guts to be exactly who you are in this exact moment. And to wrap it all up, the Source leaves us with this incredibly simple piece of wisdom. In the end, nobody else can tell you if you're on the right track. No teacher, no philosophy, only you know. Just like the saying goes, the shoe knows if it fits. And so the question really isn't for some guru or some ancient text. The question is for you, right here, right now. Are you living your true nature? Does your shoe fit?